This is Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi. Here now, Tony Bruschi.
What is there to bargain for? I mean, he's admitted it. I mean, he's admitted to family. And we don't know, has he admitted it to law? Because there's a difference between I admit this to family or law enforcement. I mean, so where does that stand as of this second?
Well, he's admitted it to family, and they would be calling the father. That remember, the mother was the first to recognize her son, and then went to the father. And then the gun comes out, and can you send me a picture of Grandpa's gun so I know you have it? And then, of course, he says, I think I'm going to ignore that one. So you're right. It's such a strong case. Look, I think this guy is facing, he is going to face death, the death penalty, unless something severely changes in some way, which I can't imagine.
I mean, is this what domestic radicalization looks like now? It's quiet, it's fast, and it is deeply personal. I mean, because that really... If we're trying to figure out what the trigger is here, I mean, it could have simply been Charlie Kirk is coming to town and I disagree with him and I want him dead. Or, I mean, is that it? Just Charlie Kirk showing up, or is there something deeper going on? I mean, obviously, from what we can glean right now, I'm going to assume he probably did not agree with Charlie on most things. And again, that I guess would be going back to the triggering event being Charlie Kirk coming to town. But we don't see a whole lot of other things in his life that are, super triggering. I get his family probably did not agree with his lifestyle and that. But then from that to this, it's like, okay, what the hell is happening here?
Well, the family talks about a discussion they had with their son, where it's brought up that he's going to be in Orem and he's going to be doing his, prove me wrong, debating. And apparently Tyler Robinson reacts to that and says words to the effect of, oh, well, that's a quote unquote stupid place for him to do that. And goes on a diatribe about how he disagrees with Charlie Kirk. And the bottom line is, I think that Charlie Kirk really was more integral and touched a certain, the 20-year-olds, right? I mean, personally, for me, I didn't watch Charlie Kirk, but I remember different TikToks and things like that would come in my feed that would be snippets of what he said, right? But some of the youth are very well versed about Kirk. I mean, much more well known in that age parameter. So I think he very well knew Charlie Kirk and followed him in a negative, visceral way. And he's like, oh my gosh, he's 2.5, 3 hours away? I think I'm going to drive up there.
So, where I can, when you try to put your mind into that gymnastics of someone who would do this, it would be, I mean, he could stand for far, far worse than being just something that has a very, very different opinion of you, no matter how different it may be. Some will take that to quite an extreme rather than move on and, okay, you can have a different opinion, and it's okay. We're going to go our different ways. They don't have to be part of each other's lives. Some will want to extinguish the other opinion completely. Does the FBI have models for identifying these short fuse actors? Because it seems like I think we just lit a tinderbox of a fireworks stand of short fuse actors here that I'm really scared to see what the coming weeks and months have ahead of us.
Well, I think many of us have put forth that the FBI is going to have to completely change its direction, law enforcement as a whole, in terms of evaluating individuals who are saying things online and then appropriately investigating those. This has just all got to change, because if you look at school shooters, mass shooters, assassins, it's not that they don't talk about it. They talk about it. They write about it before it ever happens. We need to get better about identifying that, and it's going to have to be done through AI programming, I think.
And there's a big difference, though, between somebody out there saying, I'm going to go shoot somebody, and someone who disagrees with someone for their political beliefs. And I feel like we're entering some pretty scary territory right now, where just those disagreements, not any threat, not any I hate you, not even any I want to hurt you, or just nothing, just just simple disagreement right now seems to be on the line of possible chopping block for some. That's a scary place to be in.
Well, I agree. I mean, certainly our constitutional right of free speech has to be protected, but there is a line there. You can't threaten. And if you have somebody saying, I can't wait to murder this guy, I'm going to get a gun.
I agree. All for that. Go after those people. Yeah. That's not protected free speech. I guess what I worry about is just anyone disagreeing on whatever side it may be they disagree with, and then one side having either more power politically or more power in terms of activated people out there. Basically what we're talking about here, these, kind of short fuse actors, if you will, that will then go, oh my gosh, you disagree with me on X issue, we must silence you. But the person it's not doing anything. It's just regular political, debate that we have in our country, which Charlie, is championed. That's, what he would say he would have championed in a lot of parts of his life. But that's a scary point. And how is this going to be deciphered of what is dangerous speech and what is not dangerous speech, I guess?
Well, and I know what you're speaking of. And certainly Pam Bondi recently came out and, was talking about hate speech. And there wasn't a lot of defining that. But how I took that is hate speech that leads to a threat. And the threat is where you cross the line.
Mm-hmm. So, but I mean, anybody could say something that they disagree with, and then the more extreme person could go, yeah, I disagree with that. And then it leads someone else to, would this have to be in the same line of the same individual making the threat that makes the hate speech? Because one could say, well, this person disagreed vehemently with you, but they didn't make any threat. They just disagreed, because we're allowed to do that in this country. And then someone else jumps on that is more extreme. I mean, we are walking a very fine line right now.
Well, I think it's going to be very interesting. I totally agree with you. Kash Patel said before the hearings that specifically they're looking at more than 20. In fact, he scoffed at the number 20 that were involved in this Discord group that that Tyler Robinson was involved in. He scoffed at it and he said, listen, there's way more than 20 and we're going to be looking at everybody. I guarantee agents are already knocking on the doors of those people that were involved in that Discord, those people that were involved. In other words, were they egging him on? Were they as hard as lever twigs? What all happened to get him, as you said, from point A to point murdering somebody in a week? What all ignited that? Or was it just him? The FBI is going to be getting to the bottom of it. So to your point, that begs the question, does that mean just ideologically I push you and push you and push you, but I don't make any threats? Can you be charged?
And look, I can understand that area. I think the concern a lot of American citizens have right now more so is just going on Facebook and disagreeing on either directions in some points, where if I say this out loud, what could the consequence be? And we've never been in a place where it's like, oh, this could actually, like, me, not a threat, but just someone disagreeing with a policy, whether this or that could lead to much further action than just somebody, giving you a thumbs down or disagreeing and making a nasty comment to you.
Well, I think the other thing that needs to be considered, I think where you're talking about should not be in jeopardy. But, they just arrested, I think it was a 12 or 13-year-old, I think it was 13, who had a bunch of guns, who said he was angry, who wanted to kill, right? So he's saying all these things.
Good, arrest him.
And they arrested him, but then they just let him back out, by the way, on bond, which I'm like, oh my gosh, what are we doing here? Well,
we let rapists and murderers and all that out, and then we prosecute the dads when they rescue their daughters who have been kidnapped. So only in America, as Brooks and Dunn would say. Maybe it's time we do a new version of that song with new lyrics. What do you think?
I think so.
I don't think they would want to sing them. I think that's the problem. So much to talk about. So fascinating. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for coming on. And as I've said to Robin too, just being voices of reason in a very, very confusing time right now, and being able to talk about these things without having politics being involved, but addressing the concerns that so many people have. I think that's very important. So thank you so much for coming on. Break the Case is your podcast. You can check it out anywhere you get podcasts and on YouTube. Break the Case with Jennifer Coffindaffer. Be sure to check that out. Until next time, I'm Tony Bruschi. We will talk again real soon.
Want more on this case and others? Then press subscribe now and don't miss a moment of true crime coverage from Tony Bruschi and the Hidden Killers podcast.